How many languages do you speak?
That's usually a very difficult question, right? Everybody has a different definition of speaking a language. If speaking a few words and knowing the basics is your definition, then I would say over 50 languages, 5 to 0.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really a lot.
Oh my god.
yeah.
Oh god.
Every year, I would choose at least the one country to go and learn the local language, right? And
Yeah.
I'm turning 41 this year. And I started this project when I was 20. So
Amazing.
that's about 50, right?
I almost wanted to hide a bit here because that's not my definition of speaking a language.
Welcome everybody to a new exciting episode of the Connected by Language podcast, your one-stop shop for everything travel, culture, and language related. I'm your host Michele, and I'm joined by my co-host
Michelle.
So, for the people that come here for the first time, maybe I think it would be nice to give them a little bit of an introduction about who we are, where we come from, what languages do we speak, and a little bit about ourselves.
Well, of course. So I am Michelle. I'm from Germany. I speak German, English, French, and Spanish. And I work as a language education specialist at Tandem.
Ooh, so that sounds nice. What is a tandem though?
So a tandem in general is a method to learn languages, to exchange languages, and we developed an app for it. And in the app, you can find people who speak languages from all over the world. So for example, if I'm learning Spanish and somebody wants to learn German, I can get connected with this person and we practice both German and Spanish. And we can do that in groups as well. So we have live learning groups.
Ooh, that sounds fantastic. I was thinking of starting to learn a little bit of Japanese, so I think this would be a fantastic method. And for people that are joining you, hi, my name is Michele. I'm from Italy. I speak French, Italian, English, and a little bit of Japanese. And I'm sort of like an enthusiast when it comes to learning about different cultures, learning about different countries, and finding out all of the quirks that make this world such a great place to visit. And I think today, we've been in a little bit of a journey in some Eastern European countries. We've been to Thailand, we've been to Hong Kong, and I think it's right about time to kind of finish this little trilogy that we created. Yeah, we're going to go through a little bit of a tropical, I guess, island near China. So today's episode is all about Taiwan.
Nice.
Yes, get ready to see all of the wonderful things that this little island has to offer, from skyscraper to places of nature to great cultural roots. It's going to be a bumpy ride, just let me tell you. So, if I had to describe Taiwan in a very simplified manner, it would be Asia, in the entirety of Asia in a microcosm. Because when you're going in for the first time, you will find things like skyscraper. You can find lush gorge, scenic lakes, and even like little temples tucked into the mountainside. So you truly have, in a very, very small island, a lot of different places all at once. And of course, if you're traveling for the first time in a country, what's the first place that you try to go and visit?
Probably the capital city.
Exactly, yeah, the capital. So the capital of Taiwan is Taipei. And Taipei is a very interesting city because it's kind of like it follows this rule of this microcosm because it kind of is a contrast within itself. Like you go through a neon market, but at the same time, a couple of minutes away walking, you can find quiet tea houses or countryside temples. So it's a place for everybody because you can get a lot of different views. And speaking of night markets, I'm going to just jump straight into it. There's two places that a lot of people, whenever you go on Reddit or you go to different tourist guides, always recommend visiting. It's the Shilin and Rohe night markets.
Okay.
Yeah, and these night markets are basically they're a cultural event on its own, and you can find a lot of very interesting, I'd say, activities to do. You can get your bubble tea, the Taiwan pride and joy, but also you can get a little bit more interesting items like. Have you ever heard of stinky tofu?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a stinky tofu that some people may not like the actual odor of it, but it's been assured that its taste is wonderful. So a lot of people are always there to eat it. And you can also have some very, I'd say, bizarre, for a Western side of point at least, you can have some bizarre games like goldfish scooping.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, no, it's like just a normal game where you scoop goldfish. I can't go too much in depth because there's a lot of variants in the games depending on the market that you're going. But it's definitely something that will keep you entertained for a long time at least.
Nice. Actually, there are more locations that you can visit when you're in the capital. For example, the Taipei 101.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's a really, really tall tower. It was once the tallest building in the
oh
world.
my God.
And it's like a marvel of both of engineering, but also feng shui.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
And it has what I found quite interesting is that it has a massive wind damper in the inside. Yeah, so a wind damper that keeps the skyscraper kind of stable in case there are like typhoons or earthquakes.
I guess if you're on an island, there's always the little problem of the natural elements going in. So it's always nice to have that sort of a protection.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a fun fact to it as well, because locals call it the golden fortune cookie.
A golden fortune cookie.
Yeah, or the giant fortune cookie.
Oh, I could go for a giant fortune cookie right about now.
Yeah, apparently it has a golden glow, so that's why they call it like that.
Ooh, that seems very nice to visit. But in my opinion, a lot of Taiwan's beauty doesn't just stay in the capital. In fact, if you go a little bit into the east coast of Taiwan, you can find one of the most wonderful scenic routes that you can find in all of Asia, honestly, which is the Taroko Gorge. Yeah, the Taroko Gorge is insane because it's like this marble walled canyon. Like you can see the whiteness of the marble, and it basically looks like you're just entering into a mythical painting, honestly. I don't have any better ways to describe it. But the way that it got created was thanks to the Liwu river. And the great thing about this gorge is that its cliffs rise dramatically. They're like almost vertical in a way. And whenever you try and discover this, you will always find some temple and a little bit suspended bridge coming across this. It's like being an Indiana Jones movie at this point.
It's nice. Yeah, it's actually also the home to the Truku people.
Ooh.
Yeah, so one of Taiwan's indigenous groups. And what's quite interesting is that in their art, in their weaving patterns, you find this pattern of the gorge. Yeah,
that's nice.
So they are kind of inspired by the colors, but also by the shape of the gorge.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You guys should really look at the gorge. I'm gonna put pictures on screen for people that are watching on YouTube. It's just absolutely wonderful to look at.
And there's something even more wonderful, or maybe the same, or a bit different, which is a big lake. It's the Sun Moon Lake.
Ooh, that sounds like a pretty fun name.
Yes, actually, it's it's Taiwan's largest lake.
All right.
And it's shaped, or it's called like that because it's shaped half like a sun and partly also like a moon. Yeah. I mean, that's what the legend said. I tried to recognize it a bit from the shape I saw. You need a bit of fantasy for it, but
Oh, I'm sure if you keep looking at it, you will find the patterns. I believe that at least maybe at some point it used to be much more shaped, and maybe with time it kind of changed shape.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's how nature works. Sometimes they create stuff, and with time things get eroded. So
Absolutely.
do they even get eroded? Actually, I have to fact check that. I don't know.
But it surely has changed over time. I'm sure about that.
Of course.
And this one is actually home to a different kind of indigenous people, the Tao people.
I see.
Yeah. So this is Taiwan's smallest recognized indigenous group. And they hold ceremonies sometimes that honor both the lake and the ancestral spirits.
I see.
Yeah. And this lake is also really great if you like outdoor activities.
I do love me some outdoor activities. I'm all ears.
Yeah, so for example, you can cycle a lot around the lake, and it's actually often called one of the most beautiful bike routes in the world.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. Because technically I knew a sport activity that usually is done in lakes like the Sun Moon Lake. It is more an event, I'd say, because every year thousands of people swim across the Sun Moon Lake. That honestly at this point, yes, it's a sport, people are doing swimming, but sometimes it may feel like a full-on pilgrimage. And this sort of mystical element also plays into, I think, if I remember correctly, the origin of this naming convention for this lake, because a legend, I love me some legends, a legend says that the lake was created when a couple chased and killed two dragons that are devouring the sun and the moon.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that's where the name comes from. Maybe not their shape, but rather the legend behind it. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of very interesting lore behind a lot of Taiwan's places and nature spots. So if you're interested in that sort of lore part, this is definitely a place to visit. But you cannot have a full-on country without talking about, the holidays and the festivals that the place has. And we would go a little bit more in depth in some, but as a little bit of a reminder, or sort of like a little point, is that there's a lot of activities that are very familiar to Chinese traditions and Chinese culture. But the great thing is that Taiwan always has a little bit of a twist to things. So let's dive in and just explore some of Taiwan's most known festivals.
Yeah, so the first one is Lunar New Year in Taiwan.
Classic. It's the classic.
Exactly. It's the most important holiday of the year. It's celebrated with family reunions, you're visiting temples, and lots of food, of course.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because there are some family rituals behind it. So, for example, the family, they will clean up their house, bottom to top, completely, to sweep away the bad luck.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a fun time. Also a great excuse to clean a little bit of the house on people.
Yeah, this once a year.
I mean, I hope that you do it way more than once a year, but a little incentive is always nice.
And there's something nice for the children as well. So they get red envelopes with money in it.
Yes.
Mostly the children. So it's definitely worth it for them to celebrate the new year.
Yeah, there's an entire rule book on how much money you should give to people with the envelope. So I'm not gonna go too much into depth. But what I want to explore a little bit further is the food that you mentioned, because there's a little bit of a fun, I'd say, tradition going on with the type of food that you eat during this time. So the main star of the show is fish. But there's a very specific reason why fish specifically is such an important part of the lunar year. I think it's more like a grammar-based element, because like the word for fish in Chinese, and it's yu with like a rising tone. And guess what? There's a very important word that also has a similar, I guess, pronunciation, which is the word for surplus. Because the word for surplus is shangyu. So, you kind of make the connection, maybe to get a lot of the shangyu, you need to eat a lot of yu.
I got it. Yeah.
Exactly. But this is not the only way that you can kind of like manifest your wellness and your riches. You also use a lot of sticky rice cakes. Yes, they are the start of the show. They are the nianggao. And those have a specific meaning of symbolizing rising fortunes, So,
Nice.
yeah, but it's not even done yet, because those rice cakes also have a further evolution, I'd say,
Okay.
in certain temples. Yes. So let's say that you're going around the lunar year trying to find some nice temples, and you find some giant turtle-shaped offerings.
Mm-hmm.
If those turtle-shaped offerings are made of sticky rice and sugar, you're in good luck, because those offerings have a specific meaning. It means long life. So yeah, there's a lot of symbolism when it comes to food, and hey, who doesn't like big offerings made of rice? Like, I could go for some sticky rice right now.
Yeah, now that we talked so much about it.
Exactly,
Can you answer too? Well, some of you might ask now, what about like fireworks? Like we have it, for example, for celebrating New Year's here in Europe. Actually, there is one tradition around firecrackers, at least.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they are lit to scare away the mystical beast Neon.
I see.
And in modern cities, I mean, not the classical ones are used anymore because they're so noisy, but they actually use digital firecrackers.
Digital firecrackers.
Yeah, and then also like temple-sponsored fireworks. So not everybody has their own one, but the temple organizes it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the modern version of it all.
Digital firecracker. That sounds I have to say, that sounds very unusual. I really want to see how it plays out in the long run, because it's strange, to say the least. But for people that are interested in exploring a little bit more of the more adrenalistic part of Taiwan, there is one very important festival that goes on every year. On the 5th day of the 5th lunar year, there's this holiday called the Dragon Boat Festival. And the great thing about the Dragon Boat Festival is it's all about celebrating the poet Qu Yuan, but also it's all about speed and sweat.
Okay.
And as you may kind of already understand, a lot of sticky rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the main appeal of this time of year is the dragon boat races. I do love me some races, so you better listen up if you're into sports. So a lot of different teams paddle with these beautifully decorated long boats in the rhythm of drums. It's insane. It's so adrenalinic. It's absolutely heart pumping. And if you're interested in seeing these races in real life, you better go to the Daija River in Taiwan, of course, where most of the most famous races happen.
Nice. Actually, if you don't want to travel so far, I have even seen dragon boat races here in Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I never saw those before.
I might have a look. Maybe there's a dragon boat festival somewhere in your area too.
I mean, honestly, like they sound so much fun to be in a long boat beating with drums. It's going to be very sweaty, but damn, it's going to be very fun. So I don't blame other countries for kind of having their own version or celebrating along Taiwan,
Yeah, but what was definitely missing at the one I was looking at were the dumplings, the sticky rice dumplings. Yeah, it's Songsi, which is actually also a tradition of that festival, which are triangular parcels wrapped in bamboo leaves, and they're mostly filled with pork, peanuts, or egg yolks. And each region also has their very own version of it.
You know what's really funny? You mentioned the egg yolk. I want to kind of delve a little bit more into the egg part of it, because there are some superstitions that actually stem from the concept of eggs. Like some superstition, it's of course not applying it for everybody, but some superstitions say that if you stand an egg upright on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, guess what? You have a lot of luck.
Okay.
But if it does fall down, bad fortune will follow you. So be careful when you're standing upright your eggs. So,
Yeah, probably especially the people who prepare those dumplings and are handling a lot of eggs on that day.
Yeah.
And what's actually also quite interesting about this festival is that it's not only about tradition, but also about community spirit. So a lot of schools, for example, they have their own team for the Dragon Boats. Yeah, it's quite cool. Like you can already like be raised with it as a kid. And
I can't imagine the amount of stress that you will go to have to compete with your own school and represent it. It's going to be as fun as it looks like. Imagine being forced to be in a boat and to have to represent yourself with all of these other boats. It's going to be insane, but I think it's going to be worth it at the end, you know?
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's one of the major things that make Taiwan's culture so interesting. But the great thing about Taiwan culture on a more general aspect is that there's a lot of different roots that are blended all together. You know, you have the classic Chinese roots, you have the indigenous heritage that not a little talk about, and as well as the modernity side. And surprisingly, there's a lot of Japanese roots inside Taiwan as a society, because between 1895 and 1945, Japan had a very extensive reign over Taiwan. And the result of it was a lot on the architectural side of Taiwan. You will find a lot of railways that are Japanese style, architecture that seems to mimic the Japanese style things, and as well a lot of onsen-like hot springs. So maybe if your plan to Japan doesn't go as well, maybe you can go to Taiwan and experience those hot springs as well, because they're very similar to the real deal.
But when it comes to language, actually, Japanese is not so common over there.
Of course.
Because nowadays it's Mandarin Chinese. So this is the official language. But Taiwanese Hokkien is widely spoken in daily life. And there are also some indigenous groups that preserve their own Austronesian languages.
Yeah, and that's more on the ancient part of it. But there's also a little bit of some interesting, I guess, a little bit of a cursed fun fact for the modern side of things. Because did you know that Taiwan has like the most amount of 7-Elevens in the entire world?
No.
Yeah, like there's over, I think, 6,000 7-Eleven stores in total. It's insane. And the great thing about these stores is that for people that are not as aware, because in the West they're not as present, is that you can do basically anything inside these stores. So you can of course go there and buy snack, which is the origin of it. But you can also do, let's say, you can send packages. That's one thing that you could do. You can buy concert tickets if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. And also, because of course, why wouldn't they? You can also pay your utility bills that way. So yeah, you can do so many other things. And some forums online joke about the fact that you could technically live without even ever opening a bank account in Taiwan, because all you need is a nice 7-Eleven near you, and you can basically cover most of your daily activity. But now that you mention it, I feel like it would be very nice to know more about this Hokkien, because I'm not as familiar on what it is, because it doesn't really get shown a lot when you speak about this country. Can you tell us a little bit more about what Taiwanese Hokkien is like?
Yes, of course. So it's the most widely spoken language in Taiwan, outside of Mandarin. And it's part of the Southern Min language group.
Aha, very interesting.
Yeah, and for decades, actually speaking Hokkien was discouraged under the martial law. But now it's like thriving again, even in pop songs and dramas, and it's also more supported. Children learning it at school.
Oh, that's very nice, because I didn't know that it was this rising, because the only thing that I know about Hokkien is that whenever you search different languages, if there's one thing that Hokkien has that stands out with the rest of the Chinese sounding spaces, is the very, very prominent presence of idioms, of very colorful idioms and proverbs. And some of them may sound a little bit confusing at first, but once you analyze it, you can find some very insightful look into their culture and their mentality. I have one example here. I hope that I can pronounce it correctly. It's Akcha Chongkin, which basically translates, if my translation is on point, to the duck's mouth is wearing gold.
Okay.
So maybe you can give us a little, you can try and understand what this means, or do you want me to spill the beans on what this somewhat cryptic?
I cannot really imagine what the duck has to do with the gold, so maybe you need to enlighten me.
Okay, so let's think about this. So how does a mouth of a duck look? It's it's kind of flat, it's kind of broad, it's large, and in some cultures, the duck is kind of considered a little bit of ungraceful and a little bit clumsy, I'd say. But in this idiom, you dress it with gold, so you'd think that something that is dressed with gold does make it better, right?
Yeah.
Not really, because you're still clumsy. It's just like that you put some gold in to make it shinier. So the overall idea of this idiom is that no matter how much you decorate or dress up something, your true nature doesn't change.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually quite deep.
Yeah, so it's a very nice lesson for people that have been trying to kind of cover a lot of their problems. And in general, dressing up them doesn't resolve them. It just makes them a little bit nicer to look at.
Yeah. Okay. And actually, when it comes to language and comparing Mandarin and Taiwanese, so Hokkien here, officially in schools and in media and in the government, Mandarin is used. But Taiwan uses the Chinese, the traditional Chinese characters,
Ah.
while mainland China uses the simplified ones.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this gives the Taiwanese text like a bit of an artistic look and more complex as well, of course. And this is what actually locals also sometimes take pride in.
And I would assume so because I tried to learn a little bit of not traditional, as simplified Chinese, and even then it was very difficult. So the traditional aspect doesn't really help in any case. But when I was doing research on this Hokkien idiom, I did notice something pretty interesting about the pronunciation between Mandarin and and Hokkien. Is that I guess like not necessarily Hokkien, but also like Taiwanese Mandarin even, it's a lot softer than your classic Beijing style Mandarin because it has a much more gentler tone and the rhythm is a little bit more distinct. I can't really explain it because I'm not from there. But the very interesting thing about some of the conversation that I had to research on was that in some conversations, you can probably spot a lot of changes in styles in the moment. Yeah, you can find people switching between Mandarin, Hokkien, and sometimes they even sprinkle in some Japanese loanwords, but I guess that's a more rare occurrence. So like grammar itself, of course, changes, but it's more about understanding your identity in a layered method, the ability for you to switch between multiple things at once.
Okay. And now that we've talked a lot about the language, let's talk a bit more about the people behind it. So there are 16 different indigenous groups in Taiwan.
Wow.
At least recognize indigenous groups of people. They're all Austronesian peoples.
Mhm.
And they include groups like Atayal, Paiwan, Amis, and Bunun.
Mhm.
And their traditionals include a lot of polyphonic singing and weaving, spiritual festivals, also tied a lot to farming cycles.
I see.
It seems a bit familiar. We've had
Yeah, we
other
had-
episodes about that one.
Yeah, but it's always very interesting to see how these societies learn and adapt it because they also bring a lot of very interesting things. But I will explain them in a little bit.
Yeah, and actually, some of their myths and also legends are shared with Polynesian and Filipino legends.
really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's showing their deep Austronesian roots.
I see. I think I know one of this tradition that was kind of interesting because you mentioned the Atayal people. In some villages on Atayal, it was believed that the best way for women to enter into the afterlife was actually with face tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah, they would use face tattoos as a way to kind of show off your honor. It's like a badge of honor and a show of beauty. So it was a very interesting way to differentiate people that were considered more honorous than others. And nowadays, a lot of these communities have been starting to revive their own language through like school programs and even some tourism attractions as well. And a lot of their food, like for example, Millet wine and anything with wild boar is like a very big thing in those indigenous groups, are gaining popularity nationwide. But actually, there was one very interesting thing about this communities is the fact that their language for a long time, they weren't recognized. And, like, of course, tourism can help, nice program can help, but we also managed to get a lot of, I'd say, development into their recognition thanks to a lot of activism. And I think it would be very interesting to learn more about this activism and also about the life in Taiwan in general. So I think it's about time that we introduce our guests, don't you think?
Absolutely, yes.
So, welcome to the show, Terry, the founder of Polyglot.tw and an expert when it comes to advocating for multilingualism and also someone that loves, loves anything about Taiwan and travel. So, we're going to have a lot of fun exploring it. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Hello. Guten Tag. Wie geht es Ihnen?
Sehr gut, danke.
Yeah, they're good.
How's
Yeah,
it
I
going?
felt that I needed to speak some German because you guys are in Berlin, right?
That is correct. I mean, you don't have to speak German with me because my German is pretty poor. So, luckily, we just have
That's
to be a
fine.
translator for me.
You are Berliner now too.
Yes. But how is it going, Terry?
Yeah, I'm still in Latvia,
Ooh.
and it's actually my final week.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I can confidently tell people that I speak some Latvian now.
That's fantastic. In fact, it would be very lovely to kind of explore things about this little project that you're doing. But before we dive into that part specifically, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your personal journey and what you're all about?
Sure. So I'm 100% Taiwanese. I was born in Taipei, Taiwan. I grew up in Taiwan and I did all my education in Taiwan until college.
Ah,
And right now I'm a polyglot. I'm also a language researcher and also Taiwanese indigenous language activist.
exactly.
Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and it would be interesting just to have a side note why you're in Latvia at the moment.
Okay. So as a personal rule, I choose a country every year and go there for about a month and stay there to learn the language. So this year I chose Latvia and of course Latvian to be my language of the year.
Oh, nice. I guess we
That's
will
one.
have time to hear more about it a bit later in this interview. Now we're focusing a bit more on growing up in Taiwan.
Yes.
So how would you describe Taiwan's relationship with languages, both officially and in daily life?
Yeah. So Taiwan is actually a very multilingual island or nation, but most of the people feel they are monolingual because they think except Mandarin, nothing else counts.
You're right.
So many people do not think they speak 3 or 4 languages. For example, my mom, she actually speaks perfect Taiwanese, which is Hokkien, Mandarin, and Hakka, and plus some Japanese and English. But she never thought that she is a brilliant polyglot.
Yeah, that's a very interesting ways because
Yeah.
if I were in this situation, I would flaunting this ability to switch between so many different languages. So it's very crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's an island with over 20 different languages, and they are all not mutually intelligible. So it's very interesting.
So maybe do you have other, like you mentioned now your mother, but also do you have other examples on this sort of like monolingual mentality? How does it kind of like constitute in the day-to-day life?
Yeah, so most of people when they face languages, especially foreign languages like English, they um, they are kind of scared. They always think that, oh, I'm bad at languages, I cannot learn. But they forgot that like I would say 90% of Taiwanese people at least are fluent in both Mandarin and Taiwanese, right? So that's actually a very strange phenomenon. You already speak more than 2 languages, but now you think you are not good at languages. And if we consider our indigenous peoples in Taiwan, then they speak even more. But again, when they face foreign languages, I mean, most of people, they think, oh, we are not multilingual at all. Language is not possible for me. So that I think that's a very strange phenomenon. It's in fact a multilingual nation, but people think monolingual.
Yeah.
And do you think this has changed with younger generations?
Yeah, I think so. It's exactly. First, now actually, Mandarin is no longer the only official language in Taiwan. Now we have passed a national language law like many years ago. Now every language in Taiwan is recognized, including Mandarin, Taiwanese, Hakka, and all the 16 indigenous languages. And also in schools, every language is taught, and you can even choose what language you want to learn. Of course, there are still a lot of things that we need to do because not everybody is fluent in her or his native language, but we are getting there. And plus, more and more people now can confidently speak English or even Japanese again.
That's a lot of different languages. Like sort of,
Yeah.
it's a very nice feeling to having this sort of like mentality shift over time. And like that's kind of like the a very interesting point of view because in your experience now you've been to a lot of different places and especially you have learned a lot of languages. But like I want to go a little bit broader here, exiting a little bit of Taiwan. How many languages do you speak? Or do you
Oh,
speak?
that's usually a very difficult question, right? Everybody has a different definition of speaking a language.
Yeah.
So what's your definition? According to your definition, I can give you different answers.
Like to me, speaking a language would be something that like maybe you know some of the basics of, maybe you have read a book or like you have had a conversation with somebody, not like at a super high level. Even to me, if you're someone that can say things like, hello, how you're doing, where's the bathroom? To me, that's already speaking a language, as long as you know at least some of the basic rules about it. So by this definition, how
Okay.
many do you speak?
Okay, if speaking a few words and knowing the basics is your definition, then I would say over 50 languages, 5 to 0.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh God. 50.
Yeah, but it's not that unbelievable. I just told you, like every year I would choose at least the one country to go and learn the local language, right? And
Yeah.
I'm turning 41 this year, and I started this project when I was 20. So
Amazing.
that's about 50, right?
I guess in that regards, yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
a nice way to put it.
And how?
And of course, I don't just speak like a few words in every language. Some languages, I'm very good for some languages, and some languages are like I'm iffy, and some languages are like really a few words.
I mean, I think as long as you know a couple of words, at least from my Italian perspective, someone that can speak a little bit of the words, for me, it's already enough. It's like, oh, that's fantastic. You're kind of one of us if you can say a little bit of of Italian. So maybe other places in the world aren't as kind, but in my mind, if you know how to go to the bathroom, that's enough for me. That's enough. I don't know how it is in Germany.
Yeah, then 50. Yeah, 50.
Yeah, I almost wanted to hide a bit here because that's not my definition of speaking a language.
I mean, you are the language learning specialist after all, so.
Yeah, so for me, speaking would be really like being able to hold a conversation with somebody. And that's definitely comes later than after the standard sentences of how to go to the bathroom. But
How would your repertoire of languages change with this definition?
Yeah. So that if it's having a real conversation or going to the country and having real conversation with people, it's between 15 to 20.
That's still a lot. That's a lot.
Exactly. How did your love for languages start?
So I was inspired by two of my college professors. They were all brilliant polyglots. One of them was Italian, actually, and the other one was ethnic German in the US.
Could have been us.
That could have this point. Could have.
Yeah. So your ancestors or your
Yeah.
compatriots kind of inspired me to become a polyglot. So I met them in college, and that was the first time I saw someone speaking multiple languages at the same time, and plus fluently.
Wow.
And I told myself that, oh, I wanted to be something like that, and I started to, study more languages, and I also fell in love with everything about languages.
Yeah, that's a very wonderful story to start because everybody has their own little way. Some people have to do it out of necessity when they're moving somewhere out, and
Right.
having somebody that can genuinely find love, even like in a country that, like you said, is not necessarily known for the languages, is very inspiring. But if I am remembering correctly, you also know a lot of languages that for some people might be considered a little bit lesser known or even dead, like for example Latin. So like,
Oh yeah.
To me, a language like Latin and being studied in a place like Taiwan don't really seem that there's a lot of mix. So how was your experience learning those lesser known languages in Taiwan?
Okay, so my kind of motive, or if you ask me why I wanted to learn Latin, because I just thought, oh, it looks cool. I was only 18, and also, oh, the professor was Italian, and I said, okay, I can, even if I don't learn it well, I can meet an Italian in my school.
I mean, that's I wouldn't say, don't worry, like you for people that are interested in learning Latin, you're not gonna be able to have conversation with people like just speaking Latin. So like,
Oh yeah.
it sounds very cool though. I don't blame you.
Yeah, so the experience, I think that the most important part was meeting the professor, Valentino, because he inspired me to become a polyglot. And as you remember, I even went on to visit him in Italy, all the way down to Siena. So
Wonderful.
that really gave me the passion and the motivation to become the polyglot. As for the Latin itself, it was also inspiring too, because before Latin, I didn't know any European language besides English. So that opened my eyes to, conjugation and, subjunctive and all these European language ideas. So I don't think I have met or seen anything more complicated than Latin after Latin. I mean, Europe, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like a really harsh way to start learning European languages because we don't even have the full, at least if I remember from high school when I did it, you don't even have the full confirmation that some rules even apply. Like sometimes you go to the dictionary and says, oh, it just uses cum in this case because, oh, okay. And
Because some author decided he wanted to use it. I remember that part very well. Maybe the Livy or some Cicero, he decided he wanted to use ablative here, then we stick with ablative.
yeah, I have very traumatic experiences in my high school studies, which is interesting because in Italy, you have a lot of resources to learn Latin, like it's very easy to go to your library and get your Latin, the big Latin manuscripts and stuff. But do you think that Taiwan has the necessary resources to help people that are interested in learning languages, even if it's not like Latin, even like more major languages? Like, do you think that Taiwan helps the students find the resources that they need to learn?
You mean now or when I was in college? That was 20 years ago. Right now, everybody has the internet.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, but like maybe back in the day, it wasn't as common?
No, it was the resource was scarce. And as I told you, this interesting example of learning Russian in Taiwan back in the 2090s, all our materials were about communism. So I still remember this famous phrase from like my Russian textbook back in the 90s. It's like Marxismo, nie dogma, no pravda. The Marxism is not just the dogma; it's truth.
Okay, that's a very like. It's
And also, every phrase, every conversation started with "tavarish."
I see. So
Which
there's
means
definitely
like
like a theme going on with the
Yeah,
material that
no.
you provided.
So back in the 90s and the 2000, early 2000, we didn't have any good materials to learn like foreign languages. English was fine, Japanese was fine, but if you want to learn even just like French, I think the materials were like lacking.
Yeah, and this sort of like uphill battle might be a little bit like in the moments where you felt like maybe a language was becoming a little bit too difficult to learn or it was particularly tough. Do you had any sort of ways to give you the motivation to keep going?
Yeah, so for me, since I like video gaming too,
Okay.
right? So one of my strategies, if I cannot do emerging, like interact with real people, then I would change my video games language into my target language. For example, right now in Latvia, I'm also kind of reviewing my Russian, but not seriously. So I installed the Russian versions of some of my favorite games into my computer, so I can play them in Russian.
That's a very powerful strategy. A lot of people use it with like watching Netflix and movies. So people usually forget about the power of video games, especially because you get the written part, you get the spoken part, you get the the utility part with menus. So you get a very, I'd say, versatile method of learning languages.
Yeah.
There's
But honestly, I don't. Please.
fine. No, I wanted to change a bit the topic, so please go ahead first.
Oh, no, I'm just saying probably, but gaming probably doesn't work for everybody because you have to like gaming to use this method.
I mean, some people make video games about learning languages, so there's a lot of very different avenues. So you can definitely find a video game that will suit you, especially nowadays. What is the easiest way or the best way to start learning those languages and getting those basics done?
Okay, so ideally, you you can build, I mean, like a perfect emergent environment. Like you have your communities and like real language parents. For example, I was in my Latvian friend's countryside house for like about 3 days last week, and her parents and all her family members treated me like a Latvian baby, so I could have millions of hours, like without any uh, worries to practice my Latvian, and they always talk to me in Latvian. So if you have that kind of luxury that I had a week ago, you should go for it. It would be the best way to learn, and it's almost like a no-brainer. And it's okay that even if you don't understand anything, because they take care of you. If you don't have this kind of emerging luxury, then I would say stick to the basics first, because the basics are the most important. What people usually say, and what you need for your daily life. Don't go into the difficult part first. That's not interesting, and in the long run, I don't think it's a good strategy.
And
I don't do hacks. Yeah.
And in your opinion, what counts as the actual basics? Like, what would you consider the basics when learning a language?
Okay, so more precisely, I would just recommend you a book. This book is called I think it's called Instant Indonesian: How to Express 1,000 Ideas Using Just 100 Words. That's what I mean. When I say the basics, it means you don't need more than 100 words to be able to have some real conversations.
That's a very interesting way. I might as well go check it out, because I never heard of this book before, but I heard that Indonesian specifically is a particularly interesting language when it comes to learning.
Yeah, but it's actually not about Indonesian. It's about the concept. You only need 100 words to express almost everything. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, definitely would be recommended for sure.
Do you have any tip for somebody who wants to learn, for example, Taiwanese? What would you tell them?
So actually, like you mentioned in the part about Taiwan, a lot of popular songs are actually sung in Taiwanese. I think probably the best way to really get the feeling of Taiwanese, and why is it so different from Mandarin in Taiwan, why it means so much for Taiwanese people. In order to understand all these, the best way is to listen to Taiwanese pop songs. There are so many classic Taiwanese pop songs in Taiwan that everybody loves. And through these songs, you do not just learn the language, you also learn a lot of things about Taiwan and its people.
Yeah, it's a 2-in-1 deal. You get the nice songs and you get the culture as well. Actually, 3. Think about it.
And also, I think, Michael, that you mentioned in your like question list, one of them is that what am I missing about Taiwan right now? It's probably the Taiwanese karaoke. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've never been to a karaoke before, but I've heard that they are pretty crazy.
You haven't?
I haven't. No, I never been. I always was scared of
Wow,
everything.
we should go.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it could be a fantastic way to kind of bridge these two gaps. So I'm gonna definitely take it for a ride, I guess, to getting my little bit of Taiwanese Taiwanese language in.
Actually, that would fit perfectly as a team event of the Tandem, which is a very polyglot company to have polyglot karaoke. I will take it to the rest of the
Everybody brings their own song from their own country. That would be so fun.
And talking about polyglots, you founded the Polyglot.tw to challenge the new way Taiwans view multilingualism. So, what was the moment that made you realize this was necessary?
So I don't know if you are aware that general language education isn't that successful in Taiwan, and I would also include South Korea and Japan. I think these three countries spend the biggest percentage of GDP in the world learning English, but with kind of mediocre results. So one way to approach kind of failing English education in Taiwan for me is through multilingualism. People are not having good results for many reasons, but one of them is lacking of this multilingual concept or ideology. So through founding Polyglot.tw, I wanted to change how people think about languages. And once they changed the way they think about languages, they can also learn languages more efficiently.
Yeah, and I mean, other than the education system, also another part that makes at least your activism very known is your ability to find to make the Taiwan's indigenous languages also recognized officially. So maybe you could tell us, for the people that are more interested in learning about these very niche languages, maybe a little bit of a even brief intro on some of the Taiwan languages that has been rising into popularity.
So actually, I only recently started to work with our Indigenous Language Research Foundation. I'm an advisor in their curriculum design and the teaching department. So I wouldn't say that I helped the changing the laws and everything. We have about 16 Austronesian languages in Taiwan, and they are all related to the languages in Madagascar, Rapa Nui, or even in New Zealand, the Maori people. And what's even more interesting about these languages is that they are probably the ancestors of all the Polynesian and the Melanesian languages in the world. Yeah, there are tons of papers talking about this on the internet. If you are interested, you should check it out. Yeah, so if you come to Taiwan and you are also a language enthusiast, I would recommend you to pick up at least one indigenous language. For myself, I started to learn Taiwan when I started to work with the Indigenous Language Foundation. And now I have a small Taiwan immersion program in a rural community. And so I go there sometimes and practice my Taiwan and also introduce Taiwan to more people.
And ever since those indigenous languages were recognized by Taiwan, how big of a shift was it for the society or in daily life?
Yeah, so now for a lot of indigenous people, they are now involved in local language activities. Like in many, even cities, in many places, you have a language meeting place. And these indigenous people, they can go to the language meeting places to practice. And then if you want to practice as a non-indigenous people, you can go there too. And since these languages got recognized, many laws have also been passed to facilitate language learning and education. For example, if you are an indigenous person and you speak your language well, you can get bonus pay if you work in the government, and a lot of things like that. If you are a student and if you prove that you can speak your language very well, then you can also get bonus points when you are applying to the university, so high school.
Wow. So there's definitely a very big push into sharing your own languages. For a long time it was I'd say dormant.
Yeah, and plus pop songs too. Now we do not only have songs in Mandarin, in Taiwanese. Now we also have many popular singers who sing in their native languages, like Taiwan. Taiwan is a very big language for pop songs.
That's very, very nice. So it seems like Taiwan, at least in this multilingualism direction, is getting better and better as time goes on. But do you think that Taiwan could eventually reach the same level of multilingualism that a lot of different European countries strive for? And if not, what's standing in the way of this?
Yeah, so it's actually very challenging. It's getting better, but no one is sure about the future of the linguistic landscape in Taiwan, because first, English is a big pressure in this modern world. You have to learn English to survive, right?
Yes, I'd say so.
Yeah, so many people, even indigenous parents, they would think, oh, forget about our own language. Let's first learn English. And also over time, and since Mandarin is now the dominant language in Taiwan, and the new generation would think, oh, it's too hard to just learn a new language. Maybe we just stick with Mandarin. It's easier. Yeah, sometimes people can be very lazy. So we are not sure. But if we don't try, then we are going to lose a lot of things. Because once you lose a language, it's very, very hard to get it back. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but then you would need to spend even more time and resources to get it back. And it's also about your identity and a lot of things. So now we have to try.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point because, like, again, like at the end of the day, you could have so many different government-funded programs and laws, but the major factor is still about the personal. Like the person needs to have that motivation, the confidence to show about their language skills. And I do believe that a great way, even if it sounds a little bit silly, a great way to start appreciating those languages would be like you did so far, to travel a lot around the world and see how other people handle their own languages. So maybe we could give a little bit of a detour on the different places that you've been, because I know that you have plenty of stories to tell. So, like, you've been, for what I gather, to a ton of different countries, almost 50 at this point, I think. So, were there some particular places that you prefer, or you found that they were hidden gem, or you discovered along your journey?
Oh, yeah. If everything combined, now I would say Ecuador.
Wow.
Yeah, it's because I went there for the first time to learn the indigenous language called Quechua. It's a variant of Quechua, but it's different from Quechua, and it's only spoken in Ecuador, and we call it Jungle Quechua. It's not just the language. I love the people there. I still go back now, and I have friends there. I enjoyed 5 summers in the jungle of the Amazon. Yeah, in Ecuador. I kept going back until the COVID happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah.
I've actually attended your talk at the Polyglot Gathering this year. That was on Quechua. It was quite interesting to hear all the stories about it and how you went there to learn about the language, to also be part of the community. That was quite an important part, right?
Yeah. So I was introduced to the community by the field school professor, Dr. Swanson. So I didn't have any difficulty making friends or just living with the people there day by day. If I had just gone there by myself, I wouldn't have this opportunity to just enjoy everything in the Amazon. Yeah. So yeah, the community, I think it's the key. When you really want to learn a language, especially if you want to be very good at it, you need to have a community that supports you, and especially a native community.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. As I say to almost every episode at this point, it's all about the environment and the community that you're in that determines, like, the funness, I guess, the fun of learning languages and giving that confidence, because that's
Right.
like what Tandem is also all about, trying to give people the ability to not only speak for people that are native, but also give a excited and passionate community of language learners everywhere, and to give people that jump, that push to truly unlock their potential of their language learning journey. So.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, I have a honest feedback. I have to thank Tandem for creating this platform. This summer, I found a very reliable Latvian on Tandem in Japan.
What?
Yeah.
That crazy couple?
And he practices with me every day on Tandem, and he replies every message I send, and sometimes even corrects my errors. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, let's apologize.
Actually, also as part of your immersive ways of learning languages, like how has that taught, or what has that taught you about the people and maybe even about yourself?
Yeah, so I think people are the same. No matter where you go, if you really understand them and get to know them, I don't think there is a fundamental difference between different peoples, or between people who live in different countries. Yeah, I think eventually we want to be loved, and we want to have plenty of food. We want to have fun. We want to have friends. I don't think there is any difference. And especially after seeing all these different peoples with different religions, cultures, and languages. I think if you dig deeper and if you really understand everybody, then I think everybody is the same. So there's only superficial difference, or there are only superficial differences. There are no fundamental differences. And me too. I'm also a person. I want to be loved. I want to have friends. I want to have fun. I want to have good food. Yeah, I think in this sense, human being is very simple, and most of human beings are good.
Yeah. It's actually good to take the time to think about these things because usually in our like very daily life and maybe even stressed work days, it's nothing we usually think about. So especially also if you see, I think people tend to see the differences a lot, and that's the first mistake when traveling to a different country.
Yeah, I agree. There are obviously differences.
Yes.
I mean, because we look different, we eat differently. But if you understand it well enough, then you will realize these are very superficial.
Exactly. And what I was going to say is that like looking for similarities instead of the differences, that's actually what helps you really to like find a community and immerse into the country and a different culture.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's
Genau. Ganz genau.
But I kind of wanted to, like, whenever somebody talks about like all the places that they've been and their experiences, I am someone that loves to know about the opposite side of things, because I assume that you've been to a lot of different places, and not all places have been as smooth as they could be. So could you maybe recall, for the people that are interested in traveling around the world, can you recall a time where maybe your language travels did not go as smooth as planned?
Okay. And again, before I say anything, I want to have a disclaimer. It's not about blaming any certain people or country. Maybe I was just unlucky. So I remember this one year I was in Tehran, Iran, trying to do my emerging stuff there. Of course, it was about Farsi, Persian. It was a very cold winter, and I was there for about 3 weeks, and I didn't find anybody to talk to or any community to join. So I considered this Farsi immersion a failure, kind of.
I understand. I mean, if you just stuck with yourself studying the language, you could have done it at home as well.
That
makes a lot
but
of sense.
I tried, but it was very hard for many reasons. It was hard to find the community, and again, hard to find people to talk to. Yeah, so sometimes it happens. Yeah, and again, I totally agree with you. If you just want to study, then you can do it at home. You don't need to go anywhere.
Maybe we're approaching the last few questions of the program, so maybe we could give a little bit of I guess like the overall number one winner of your travels, because while you have found your role for Ecuador, I do know that there's one specific countries that you return very often during your studies. So can you tell maybe the audience what your favorite country, at least it is?
Well, my love for this country is not recent, and I have always been in love with this country, and nothing has changed. And usually, if I tell people I love this country, people are disappointed because they would say, "Why, after traveling to over 100 countries and learning more than 50 languages, and you like that country?" Okay, it's Japan.
Okay.
But understand it from my friend's perspective, because living in Japan is a very common thing in Taiwan. So you don't want someone who have seen the world, learned more than 50 languages to tell you that he loves Japan.
Maybe it could be a compliment to your friends as well. Like, you are loving the right country. You are learning my language here. I have seen others too, and I can just agree.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, it's not a bad thing to love Japan, but they always expect something more exciting. Maybe you say Ecuador. Or...
Exactly, the Ecuador kind of can fill in those blanks. But what does, at least from my perspective, why does Japan specifically continue like to be the language and the culture that you like, that you feel closest to?
Well, I know the good things about Japan and also the bad things about Japan. I have been to every place in Japan in general, and I find this country and people and the culture fit my personality the best. I mean, I basically echo everything they have in Japan, and that's just me. I like the pop songs, the J-pop, food, and living there and just hanging out with Japanese people. I mean, I always use this example to demonstrate why I think Japan fits me the best. So I go to bars to drink in every country. I wouldn't say that I'm a big drinker or I'm like I chase after booze. No, I just enjoying going to bars and drinking. And I feel like most peaceful. I'm most at home when I go to a bar in Japan. It's always easier for me to approach people and to talk to people in Japan. It's not because it's better in Japan. It's because the way people communicate in Japan fits my style. And I would go to a bar in Germany too, in Latvia, in Italy, and anywhere else in the world. I can still have fun, but it's not just 100% my stuff.
I mean, sometimes it's the small things that they pile up,
Yeah.
making the best possible option. But I think let's take a little bit of an extra detour back to our starting point of Taiwan, because this is the
Yes.
final question of the program today. If there was one thing that people should remember about Taiwan, what would it be?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of our indigenous heritage here in Taiwan. So I want you and I want everybody to remember this word called Austronesian. Taiwan is the Urheimat of all the Austronesians in the world.
Okay, so really the origin. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And it's good that you say that, actually. When we did the research, for me, it was a kind of unknown word. So it's good that you mention it's quite important to know it, and people should remember.
Yeah, and I think with
Yeah.
us, with this little, how do we say in Italian, perla di saggezza, I don't know, I kind of find a way to translate it, but with this wisdom words, I think it could be a nice time to come close to the ending of this episode. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining the program.
And thank you for interviewing me and giving me this opportunity to share my stories and my love for languages, Japan, and Taiwan.
Yeah. And if there's like a project that you're currently doing, or some sort of like a place where people can find you at, what would it be? We can if it is a time to promote a project of yours, this is the best time to do it.
Definitely. And I think a Tandem is part of this, as far as I know. So I'm co-hosting this year's Polyglot Conference with the renowned Richard Sincott. And it will be in Taipei on the 10th of November, which is also my birthday. So please Google search Polyglot Conference Taipei 2025, and you will find all the necessary information. Yeah, and Tandem will be there too, right?
Let's see. It's not sure yet, but if we're there, we'll let you know.
Yeah. But in general, if you want to learn more about the conference, you can go into the description. You will find all the necessary information about it. And with that, I think it's about time to thank you all for watching this episode of the Connected by Language podcast. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe. And if you've been to Taiwan, what was it like? You can give us a little bit of comment. You can leave a little bit of your story in the comments below. And hey, if you have also another place that you would like us to visit, we're always open for suggestions. We're always very ready to learn about a new culture, a new country every episode. So again, thank you for watching. I've been your host, Michele, and my co-host,
Michelle.
and I guess we'll see you all in the next episode of the Connected by Language podcast. See ya!
See you next time.